Welcome to the In My Opinion Show with host Ronald Barrington Robinson and friends, seen on the internet via YouTube. Enter in capital letters RBRIMO to watch our exciting programming. Subscriptions are free. The In My Opinion Show is seen on Flint, Michigan, Comcast Cable Television, Channel 17, every Saturday at 6 p.m. and every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. The In My Opinion Show is also seen on Detroit, Michigan, Comcast Cable Television, Channel 68, every Sunday at 9 p.m. We want to welcome our worldwide viewers. We hope that you will enjoy our programs that are newsworthy, educational, political, and entertaining. If you would like to be a guest on this exciting program or have different opinions on our subject matter, please email our producer at inmyopinionrbr@att.net. I want to welcome our millions of viewers worldwide. I also want to welcome my very talented co-host, Ms. Denise Smith-Allen.
Hi, Ron. How are you?
Great. Ms. Jackie Williams.
Hello, how are you?
Fantastic. And Mr. Henry Hatter.
Hi, Ron. You have brought us out of the cave and put us on Wall Street today.
Well,
Thank you.
Let's hope so. Let's talk about police murders, brutality. I am not anti-police. I'm anti-police murderers and brutality. Falsifying evidence to get a conviction, lying in courts, and on law enforcement department reports. To find out how many murders, killings law enforcement were involved in 2013 and 2014, it was hundreds. Go to carrytheirnames.com. The latest episode of white police misconduct viewed all over the world. Cop murders another African American, shooting him 4 times in the back as a result of a traffic stop for a broken taillight. The cop is presently in jail on murder charges. All too often, law enforcement plant false evidence on innocent citizens, as this cop tried to do with a taser, but his murder and misconduct was caught on camera. He even lied on his department police report and had a fellow black officer lie as well. There are a lot of good police officers risking their lives for us. I ask all, if you see one of your fellow officers involved in misconduct, please report them immediately. How many thousands of innocent citizens are in prisons, city and county lockups as a result of police misconduct? Thanks to the hard work of the Innocent Projects around the country, hundreds of innocent citizens have been exonerated and set free from death row and large sentences around the country. These murderers and misconduct by law enforcement have been and become an embarrassment to our criminal justice system. What has happened to the culture of serve and protect? Denise, what is your thoughts on this recent episode of this Mr. Scott getting shot in the back?
Well, first of all, my condolences go out to the family of this victim of yet another misdeed, and I'm saying that mildly, of a police officer who was hired to protect and serve. I am so grateful in this regard to technology, because more and more events such as this is being exposed. And I think that it is a sad commentary, because as you mentioned, there are some really good police officers out there working very hard every day, and they're risking their lives to protect and serve. But then you have a small group of rogue officers that make the whole police departments throughout the United States look very bad. To shoot an unarmed man in the back, I mean, that just tells the whole story. In the back. A traffic stop, something that could certainly have been handled with the man still sitting in his vehicle. The whole thing, as it was exposed and played out, was just a horrible situation. And I'm glad that the person who videotaped it came forward, showed it, because of course, you know, he was a little fearful of his life in retaliation, but he had the courage. He went through with it, and the police department, looking at it for what it was worth, said there is no other thing that we can do but distance ourselves from the situation, charge him with murder, and let justice be served. And this officer is the test case for what will happen in the future. And I see it as a very positive move for police departments. I mean, although, you know, they had to probably do some things to come to that, but they came to it quickly enough to quell possible, demonstrations and violence and all the rest of that. Because this is, again, something that happens over and over and over and over again. And, you know, it's like young or old black men, in some regards, are like an endangered species. It is terrible that we have two things going on in our community. And that is, number one, our own black on black violence. That's another topic. But at the same time, we have people who are going about their business in their vehicles or on the street walking, and they are being stopped by a police officer, and at that point in time, depending on the scenario, it can play out in a very tragic way. And it shouldn't be. It just shouldn't be. So, you know, at this point, I'm looking at how the system is going to work this time. And I'm praying, number one, that justice is really served and that that officer gets what he deserves in this situation.
Jackie, what's your thoughts?
I'm in total agreement with Denise, and also I was reading and watching a couple of shows regarding the shooting, and one of the interesting things that they said was this officer was brought with charges 7 times, and he was investigated by his own peers, and they found no wrong. And so this is the first time they turned it over to an outside company to do, and that's why I think the right things were done. Is because it's not you being able to favor your friend, like you said, and change the police report, because this is what they said, and I found that very interesting. They said had that video not come, they were going to agree with the police report, and nothing would have ever happened if this guy didn't come forward. And you are right, he fears for his life, but he was on TV the other day, and when he said, if anything ever happened to me, you know who killed me.
Exactly.
Because he has started something. I mean, because I know in Ferguson, they weren't allowed to videotape anymore. They wouldn't let them. Remember, they snatched the videotape?
Okay.
So I think what it is technology is allowing them not to be able to continue to do the dirt that they have been doing and covering up all this time. It's starting to be exposed, because also at the same time, this week, a judge was sentenced to 28 years for wrongly accusing black young men to prison. He had a kickback, and so he was able to get a kickback. So he was just sending for little small things that should have just been probation. He was sending them to the maximum because he was getting a kickback, but he was sentenced to 28 years. So I'm encouraged, even though we got a long way to go. This is definitely the step in the right direction.
To our viewers, let me be clear here. Law enforcement is made up of all groups. This is not just white police killing citizens. It's across the spectrum. Additionally, all law enforcement should wear body cameras. Recent reports state using body cameras has cut misconduct down over 60%. So I would encourage the police departments all around, law enforcement period,
Right.
all around the country, body cameras. And make sure that your officers know that any messing around with the cameras, is immediate termination.
Right.
Immediate termination.
Ron, if I could
Yes.
interject just one other point too. In addition to the body cameras, I still think that officers should have a psychological evaluation, okay? If not yearly, at least every 2 years.
Absolutely.
They need to have it done because they feel that Blue Shield puts them in a situation where it's almost like combat.
Exactly.
Okay, and so if you got a person out there on the front line every day for so many years, that person needs to be brought back. They need to look at what's going on with them on a personal level and a professional level to make sure that they are not having any type of breakdown, psychological issues.
Right.
They need to check on them to see about what they're doing outside of work as it relates to belonging to any militia groups and stuff like that.
Exactly.
They need to know who they have working for them.
That's
and
right.
it's got to be beyond just a resume. They need to know who they have because it's crucial, and if we don't push that, then business will continue to be as usual.
Exactly,
That's
exactly. Also, let me just add this. Keep your telephones charged. Take pictures, audio of all police activities. That's your life may be in the balance, okay? Police, murders, brutality must stop. A public outcry should echo across this nation. Mr. Hedder, what is your thoughts?
You know, Ron, I'm going to echo what Denise and others have said, and yourself, about this situation. If you had asked me, would I have thought that another murder like that would occur within the next year, I would say no. We have learned something from New York, and we've learned something from St. Louis. So that was really surprising to me. And as a matter of fact, I was somewhat against body cameras because they did not protect the integrity of the good police officer. It put him on trial every time he went out to do something. Like you said, and you've said it, and Denise has said, and others have said, that there are some good police officers out there.
Sure.
And we need to make sure that those are protected. And it's a philosophy among departments, and these you should know this very well, that people who work in close proximity like that with an authoritarian head of the department, you do have a philosophy where you support the police officer if he does something that's out of the ordinary, like kill someone. They will all see nothing, hear nothing, know nothing. And that has been a situation where the justice system has failed in all of this. But if you were to ask me today what I believe about body cameras, I would say, yes, we should have them. Until we clean up this situation involving African Americans and other minorities. That should be cleaned, and also whites.
Everyone.
Yeah. So I believe that we're headed in the right direction, but I'm kind of sad here because there are other advocacy groups who are running ahead of the president. This is the situation for the president and for the justice system. They need to weigh in on this, and we shouldn't. This is the only generation that we're going to get a chance to correct this, because you won't have a black president next time. And he supports Africa. He supports all people, but he's done an inordinately lot for African Americans through what he represents and through his posture and his influence. He has tremendous amounts of influence. So we need to listen to him, and we need to let him do his job. And we don't need anybody running ahead of him. We don't need Al Sharpton. We don't need Jesse Jackson or any of those. But we need individuals like yourself, Denise. I believe that you have the courage to stand up to your boss if you saw something like that happen. But I believe that 99% of other people who look like you don't have that courage.
Well, Henry, I'm very glad that you feel that way. And I do want to say this about, because I work in the criminal justice system, I work in a different arena than those that are, quote quote unquote on the front line, the police officers who bring the people in, arrest them. Okay, when I'm dealing with writing reports and supervising individuals who have been convicted, what we have to rely on very heavily is the police reports. And if the police reports have lost their integrity, then that is very troubling to me. Because again, a written report is documented evidence of what was alleged to have happened. And based on that, a person's life, as you say, is held in the balance. They can either be put on probation or parole or be sent to prison. So it is incumbent upon whoever writes that report to understand the report is going to be scrutinized. And now, as I sit and I look at these reports, I'm always thinking now in the back of my mind, is this really what happened?
Well, you know, the situation in New York where the man was choked to death. Guess who was in charge? An individual that looked like the victim.
Okay, well,
And she never once went up there and said, get off of him. That's enough. You got to have people of conviction who have, like the president does. Because if he can stand against the Republicans, he can stand against another police officer.
well, that's true, Henry, but I don't want to mix apples and oranges here because the president has a more of a perspective here. But we're talking now about this unique situation, or I said situations, whereas you have individuals because they have been filmed doing the wrong thing.
Yes.
Okay, then there's some accountability straight ahead because you see it. Just like with that individual who was shot down, there was another man who was riding on a horse.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, and when they got hold of him, it reminded me of some ravenous dogs. That's what that reminded me of because the guy came from nowhere. He came in and he said, "I'm gonna get a piece of this too," and start kicking that man. That man was kicked several times, beat. He survived that, but a camera was on them, and you would have thought by now. Don't you all get this? I don't care how remote the situation is or where you think there's nobody looking. Somebody is watching.
Yeah.
Not only the creator, but there's individuals out here and they have technology. So why would you even put yourself in that situation now? I mean, over and over and over, it's getting our attention. It's showing us, okay, things have to be different. Policing has to be different.
But also the mood of the country is, and for many people in these situations, are driven by people on talk shows just like this who want to see revolution, who want to see bloodshed.
Oh, no. I don't know.
You don't think so?
No. Okay, well, here's what I would say about that because I don't listen to every talk show.
But have you ever heard Michael Savage?
No.
I can't say that I have.
Listen to Michael Savage.
Okay, well, look, I understand that there are people out here that have, they're discontented and they're angry, okay, and they're upset about, the state of economy, and they want to blame people for their problems financially and feeling like other people are getting ahead of them, racial minorities and all of that. And so that feeds into their own hatred.
Well,
you can't legislate that. You can't change the person that feels that way.
The talk shows are not racial people. They're not.
I don't think the talk show is driving them. I think you kind of hit on it, Denise, when you said that the badge. Because I've heard some people that work in law enforcement, when you have that badge, you feel like you are superior. And regardless to what changes, because this is just a new change that you weren't, you still have the same mentality. Until you're ready to change your mentality, it's not going to change.
But that's not true of all police officers.
No, I'm talking about the ones that continue to do.
The rogue officers.
Right, because the one
don't say the rogue officers.
Because if you know you have a
Separate.
camera, why in the world would you do that to that man that you did on that horse? If you know a camera is watching, because you haven't changed your mentality, because you still feel like you're superior, you can do what you want to do, and you can get away with it.
They felt that way before they came to the police department.
What I'm just,
Absolutely, they did. And then because of the screening of these officers, there lies some of the problem. So hopefully from all of this, policing will change. It may not change overnight, But
Right.
what they have to do is they have to look at it from the top. They have to go through, just like with the police commissioner in New York, Bratton. He was out there in Los Angeles, okay, and they had to have a consent decree because of LAPD officers that beat Rodney King. And they had to go in and revamp because they had some other incidents, the Rampart incident, where the officers were killing up gang members and things of that nature. So this thing, like I said, is systematic.
Yeah.
It's a systemic problem that needs to be addressed. So they have to address it on various levels.
But it's at the top.
It's at
This
the
is a
top.
culture of police departments all over the country.
Yes, but what I'm
So it rises to the level of the President of the United States
the president has
and Attorney General.
The Attorney General, and we already know the Attorney General is on his way out, and there's a new person that they're vetting and trying to get in there. But because of the politics, it's slowing it down. Because if she were in place,
She could step up.
she could step up and do some things. But right now, they're taking their time about getting her in place.
Right.
So in the meantime, things are happening.
But we have Attorney General already.
We
He's
do.
a very good one.
We sure do. And in the meantime, he is preparing for his departure. He has already made the case. He has already stated how he feels about policing. He's already stated how the inequalities have been. He's stated these things. And he's trying to put in, or he had tried to put in the situation where things would change. But they
Had
have
him.
did so many things to stop him. So at this point, his health had been affected. He had to make a decision. Well, you know what? I need to go ahead and do something different.
He's lame duck.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he has the courage to stand up to anybody, as he's always had. So is the president.
Okay, but what are you saying? What are you saying, Henry? They can stand up.
Yeah.
But behind them standing
But there are
up.
things that he can do while he's in that position as lame duck.
Yeah, okay. But what I'm asking you though, you're talking about policies.
No, set the framework. You already got policies, or change
Yeah.
the policies.
Yeah.
Bring in new people. Go to universities and have them do new studies to shape or frame new policies that fit the present and current generation, and also the situation that has given rise to this tremendous upheaval in law enforcement and the resistance of people of color against law enforcement.
I don't know that we resist so much. I think that we're fearful.
Well, what is that? That's the same
That's
thing.
not no. We were taught growing up,
Yeah. Okay.
to have respect for the police.
Yes, and we
okay,
should, yeah.
not to cuss them out, not to run away from them. Okay, we were taught that.
But young people don't have that. They have a lot of resistance against.
But look what has happened.
Yeah.
Look
No
what has
wonder.
happened.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
my son is not a criminal. He's a college graduate, but you know how many times he stopped? He stopped all the time, and they just pick at him. They pick at him. One time they had him out of the car and they had guns drawn. For what?
Yeah.
They pick at them, so they're nervous when they see them, and no matter what they do, it's wrong.
It's terrorism.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Exactly,
It's
exactly.
terrorism. So we need to call it out. Okay?
Mhm. Call it like it is.
Because you have a gun and a badge. And basically that's street level bureaucracy. And what they can do, they have the power really at that point of life and death in their hands.
Yeah.
And they know.
And that's dangerous.
But everybody doesn't
Dangerous.
prevail that point of view. I have a couple of officers that live close to me, and they don't have those kind of
I'm not
views.
speaking.
Yeah.
You're qualifying this whole conversation with that 10% or 5%
Yeah,
of the rogue officers, because for the most part, you've got a good force out there doing a really tough job.
Yes.
A really tough job.
Mhm.
And my hat is off.
Well, we're on
that.
the same page.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
We are.
We need
But
to weed them out.
we need to weed them out. And even when I think about what happened with the mayor in New York when they had the officers that were killed, the gun down in their car, okay? And because those officers were angry, they turned their back on the mayor. That, to me, calls for give me your badge, give me your gun, because you are being disrespectful to a person who has authority over you and basically is your boss. Okay, that's your boss.
But you have jurisdiction only in your own jurisdiction.
This is your mayor. Just like you talked
I
about
know.
the president.
Yeah.
The president has,
Yeah,
supposedly the ultimate power in this
Yeah,
in the
sure.
United States.
Sure.
So you have a governor, or excuse me, the mayor of the city, and you have city police officers. And these officers, because they're upset with the mayor,
They were from all over the country.
they were, but a lot of those officers that turned their back, the ones that originally turned their back were those that were in New York.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other ones kind of followed suit. Some of them didn't. you
Denise,
know.
I have no problem with the argument,
Mhm.
except that there are people out there that support our side.
Oh,
Lots
yeah.
of them.
Right.
That's why
Absolutely.
the person in North Carolina or South Carolina, he said, this guy is to be tried for murder.
Yes, and thank goodness.
Within 24 hours, I guess he declared that.
But that's because an outside agency did it. It was
Whatever it was, whatever drove it, worked.
Yeah, the first
Well-
time. Yeah, they did something different.
Well, let's hope that there's a lot more people that take pictures of these police activities. Again, to see the murderers that law enforcement has committed in the last 2 years, go to carrytheirnames.com.
And we don't want to indict everybody in law enforcement.
No.
Nobody's
gotta make that
even
clear.
suggesting that. Nobody's
Yeah.
even suggesting that.
Okay.
Get rid of the road cops, all right? And to get rid of them, it begins in those precinct houses, from the top down. You see a misconduct, fire their ass. Get them out of there now. This has been a wonderful conversation, but at this time, I must bring the In My Opinion show to a close. Until next time, stay focused.